So, starting us off on this podcast, I know Jose normally introduces the podcast and whatnot, but this is basically a little rando cast that we got going on here. But so today, I want to talk about balancing all the shit that we got to do, because we often talk about it and we try to stay as humble as possible, but as you go through this long trek of entrepreneurship, you start to realize that, man, this shit is actually like excruciatingly painful. Very, very difficult. Every day it's something else. Every week it's something else. I was literally talking to a girl not too long ago, and she asked me how my week was going. And I said, things are going pretty good, which means something bad is probably about to happen. And you know what happened later that day? We got some shit news. So, yeah, it was the shipment. Yeah, not today. Anyway, we got some interesting
There's a lot
news.
of shit news that happens
exactly.
on a day-to-day basis. Which shit news are we talking about
Exactly.
here?
So I'm saying all of that to say that as you go through this journey, I do think it is relatively okay to gain a sense of pride when it comes to doing the shit that you're doing. And if you would like to speak on what you're doing, of course, have the actions to back it up. But I don't think there's anything wrong with you being loud and I wouldn't say in somebody's face, but just loud about what you've been doing. Because you've put in so much work that I do think to a certain extent, you can talk a little shit. Now, Jose, you can disagree with me or agree with me, but we have been in positions to where we have changed our diet, changed the way we look, changed the way we work out, changed the way we do business, all that shit. And we've put in hours and we suffered the consequences of shit not working initially. And then shit finally started to work. And I feel like once you get to that point, you can talk some shit because you're doing and you went through what most people aren't willing to go through.
You have to earn the right to talk shit.
Yes.
To say you're an entrepreneur, you have to earn the right. To say you're a business owner, you have to earn the right. To say that you're successful in whatever you do, you have to earn the right. And what does that mean? That means you have to have unequivocal and unarguable evidence that supports your argument. If you say you're an entrepreneur, cool. Have you made revenue? If you don't have a registered business, if you don't have a payment processor, if you don't have cash flow, it doesn't have to be positive cash flow. It could still be negative cash flow. If you haven't developed a product, made a sale or whatever, then it's only a theory. You haven't proven it until you've done it. If I want to say I'm the fastest man on earth, bullshit. That's Usain Bolt. Not fucking Jose Mayorga. No, sir. Definitely not Jose Mayorga. But I could tote myself up and Austin says I'm the fastest man on earth. I say I'm the fastest. My girl says I'm the fastest man on earth. Doesn't mean I'm the fucking fastest man on earth. You can't say shit unless you've done shit.
Right.
Which is honestly, this is what pisses me off.
Yes. Yes. This is what I wanted today. Yes. Let's get into it. Say, hey, if you ever live in a place like this, you get to experience certain things because you have a wonderful view of the city that you reside in. And as you get these views, you start to see an abundance of bunda.
Bombo clot.
Bombo clot.
Hey, melocotongos.
You know, you see some melocotongos walking around and you're like, oh man, hold on. We got to pause the podcast because we have to give appreciation to the wonderful, beautiful women that we see walking by. So we had to talk and, give a little brief pause for that because, there's some wonderful ladies walking around the city in which we inhabit. And we would like to say, shout out to you. We're single. Hit me up.
Depends on who's asking. Everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody's a businessman or businesswoman. Everybody's an influencer. Everybody's an author. Everybody's a writer. Everybody's of this. Everybody's of that. Everybody's an authority. Right. Well, if everybody's an authority, then nobody's an authority. There exists no hierarchy in where everybody thinks they're equal. where everybody thinks they're at the top, because then you can't distinguish the top from the bottom, and the world is hierarchical. If that hurts your feelings, fuck off. Now, here's the problem I take with that. There's no problem with saying or thinking and then becoming. Think and grow rich. There's no problem with saying, I'm an entrepreneur and working to be an entrepreneur. But when the shit hits the fan, you need to understand, if you aren't who you say you are, you simply are not. That dialogue of I'm an entrepreneur is within you. When you meet that entrepreneur who is truly an entrepreneur, so let's say that's your mentor, you need to humble the fuck out of yourself and understand that there is a different level that you are not on yet. You're working there. You're working towards it. And it's okay to keep that dialogue within yourself. It's okay to say I'm a millionaire. It's okay to say I'm a billionaire. It's okay to dream about these things. But you have to be sober in reality. You have to be so fucking arrogant and conceited and delusional to actually truly believe that you are something that you're not, which is a huge problem and a huge vendetta that everybody wears on their fucking sleeve like there's some kind of God. They think they are it. They're the, in your words, the best thing since sliced bread. It doesn't make sense to me. And it is one of the most annoying and frustrating things, because if I think I'm the best entrepreneur in the world, well, there's Elon Musk. And if I don't acknowledge that Elon is at a higher and entirely different league than me, I'm stunting my own potential. I'm limiting my growth. I'm preventing those people around me from reaping the benefits of me progressing further, me growing. Because the first step to leveling yourself up or progressing in any endeavor is understanding that you know nothing.
Very true. And personally, I feel like you earn the right to brag if you are the same person through and through. And when I say through and through, you often see people who like to have this facade about themselves whenever they're winning. It's easy to win. If you're playing with Michael Jordan and you're winning fucking championships, that shit is easy to walk around like you just fucking great. And you're, oh,
Wow.
once again,
That's a nice one.
God damn.
Damn.
Hey, anyway, yeah. So if you're playing with Michael Jordan and you're winning championships, okay, you can walk around like you're just the best champion of all champions, right? Because you're playing with the GOAT. But who are you when you lose? If you had a camera with or watching us from the point of when we started this shit till now, you will see us go through loss after loss after loss after loss. And you will see us still remain the same person, still remain the same people, still want to achieve the same things, still have the same goals, still have the same ideals. And when you maintain that, to me, whenever you get to the Golden Gates, whenever you get to your destination, you can talk all the shit that you want. Because most people, when they begin to lose, they like to quit. They like to give up. They like to act like shit didn't happen. They like to act like, okay, I wasn't even really serious about that shit anyway. That was just, that was just some shit that I tried out. I wasn't even that serious. No, that's, to me, those are fucking losers. Those are people who don't earn the right to brag. Even if they, somehow come into some money later, you haven't earned the right to brag, to me. Because, again, when we get to the point to where we want to be, we were going to be talking the same shit that we were talking when we didn't have this shit, after we just took a loss. There's plenty of losses that we came back to where we were and we're like, man, that shit sucks. But now I'm pissed. Now they think that we're this. Now we're going to have to do shit like this. We're going to have to come like this. We're going to have to get this money from here over here and put it in there and then yada, yada, yada. All that type of shit, right? We were talking that same type of shit after a fucking loss. We didn't give up. And that propelled us into the work that we'd have to do for the next project and the next business and the next thing, right? So to me, when you finally win after having that same bravado, that same confidence in yourself from when shit was dark and you couldn't see, to me, then you've earned the right to brag. And I can't say shit about that, because you were the person who walked through the darkness when nobody was believing in you. You said, you know what? there's that pathway that looks like it has some light going down there. Everybody's going over here. But I feel like something's telling me to go this way. I feel like I can go further in life going this way. And I have to walk through the darkness to get there. But I feel like there's going to be a better something on the other side. Let me go. And you walk through that fucking darkness by your fucking self. Nobody believes in you. And on that walk, you're still telling yourself, man, okay, it seems like I went backwards, or it seems like I lost my trajectory. It seems like I lost my positioning, but I'm still going to go. Fuck that. I believe in myself. You don't fucking falter. You don't fucking shake in your fucking boots and then quit and then go back with everybody else. You say, I'm going to see it through. And then once you finally see it through and you get to where you want to get to, nobody can tell you shit. I'm all with you. So if you want to talk all that shit to every fucking body at the end of your journey because you fucking made it, by all means, because people don't really understand how hard this shit is until you get in it. And you're in it for an extended period of time. You may not know if you'll ever succeed, but you're going to keep going regardless. That, to me, is something that you can brag about to the end of fucking time.
And you're not working to brag.
Right.
Bragging is just a plus.
Yes, that's the cherry on top.
That is the cherry on top of the banana split. You know? Oh, boy.
Oh, shit.
Bragging is not the goal, but it's definitely a milestone. When you accomplish something, you get to brag about it. When you make your first sale, you get to brag about it. When you make your first 1,000, you get to brag about it. When you get your first business card, you get to brag about it. When you get your first bank card, you get to brag about it. When you hit 100,000, you get to brag about it. When you hit 500 followers, subscribers, what have you, you get to brag about it. Once you reach a certain level, you gain everything in between. And I have a note here that one of the things that people don't like to hear is your opinion and your thoughts mean absolutely nothing until you are a respected individual within a domain. I don't know shit about engineering. I know things about microchips because I come from a computer science background, but I don't know jack shit about electrical engineering. So if I were ignorant, arrogant, and stupid, as I am, in electrical engineering, to walk into a conference of electrical engineers and say, you're wrong. This is how it needs to be done. Who the fuck is going to listen to me? And who am I to get offended that they're not listening to me? Because I have no authority. I haven't gained any authority. Therefore, my opinion has no fucking... My opinion, or even my logic, has no weight because I'm not respected in that domain. It's the same thing. If you say you're going to teach an NBA basketball player how to play basketball and you've never played or coached any professional athletes, who's going to take you seriously? I'm not saying that you're entirely wrong. You might be an expert without being an expert or without being a respected expert. However, you don't have the track record. Nobody's going to respect that, and nobody's going to come to you for their problems. So why? Why even try to brag or to boast outwardly when you don't have any supporting evidence? And why get offended? One of the biggest things that I abhor the most is when people demand respect for something where they don't need to be respected in. Don't get me wrong. We treat everybody with human decency. Everybody deserves a certain level of respect. You are a human. We'll be polite. We'll be kind. We'll smile. We'll treat you well. We'll ask you how you're doing within reason until you teach us otherwise. But if you come up to me and you tell me how to do X, Y, Z, let's give an example. If you come up to Austin and I and you say, hey, this is how you should develop your supply chain for your cigar company. You're like, okay. Have you done it? No. Oh, okay. Why are you talking? Who are you?
I heard it from somewhere this one time on this one thing that one day.
From this podcast or from that book. I read it.
Right.
Have you done it? No. Okay. Shut up. Do you have the connections? Can you make the phone calls for me? Do you want to be our COO? Chief of Operations. Do you want to be the one who's the supply chain manager? Go ahead. Do it for free. Prove that you can do it. And if you succeed, great. Now let's do it your way. Odds are you didn't know what COO meant. And you also probably don't know the definition of supply chain, because if you have never done it, you're never actually going to stand it through and through to its entirety. Because reading about something and doing it is entirely different, because you're going to learn about things that aren't even written. In theory and in practice. Practice is 1,000% more complex than the theory.
And you know what's interesting? It's funny that you say that, because I was having this conversation with my dad like some time ago, like a year plus ago, right? And I told him, well, he told me, hey, I think you should get your MBA. You know, go to UT and, you know, get your MBA there. And, you know, no disrespect to UT.
Nothing against UT. Nothing against MBAs.
Just saying that, yeah, exactly. Saying that that's a credible place to go get your MBA. Definitely probably like top 5, I would say, in the country. Mm-hmm. And he said to go do that. But I said, I don't know. I think that I would get just as much experience, if not more, by putting myself in the water of entrepreneurship in business than being in a class. Because there's just something different about reading a book about this is what happens when you have a plan and it doesn't go how you want it to go and you lose thousands of dollars. And then you actually have a plan in real life. It doesn't go how you plan in real life and you lose thousands of dollars in real life. In a class, you can read about it. It's fine. It's okay. But when you have to be that person that puts up that thousands of dollars and the shit doesn't go right, and you have to say, okay, learning lesson, on to the next one. Now tell me, even if you fucking read a book and you were one of the most well-read people out there, I don't think most people would be willing to do that and experience that in real life. Because it's one thing to read or to see something from someone else that they're doing this over there, and it's another thing for you to do it yourself. And there's nothing more valuable, in my opinion, than actual experience, because you could talk a good game, you can be well read, but when that shit fucking comes to your front door and you have to deal with it yourself, most people can't stand it. Most people don't have the will to do it and will to see the shit through. They'll get scared. They'll get cold feet. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I'll get married. I want to get married to this person. And then you've heard the experiences of some people where they'll have a person being left at the altar because the bride or the groom got cold feet. It's a completely different experience when you actually have to go and you actually have to fucking do whatever it is that you set out to do. So to me, I think experience when it comes to this lets you be able to talk the shit that you want, because again, everybody can talk a good game, but not everybody can actually play in the game. And I want to make this clear. When you're on this journey and you do decide to brag a little bit, keep in mind the thing that got you there. What got you there wasn't bragging. What got you there was the work. So continue the work. And if you continue the work, you can talk as much shit as you want. If you continuously work hard and work harder than everyone else, you can continue to talk some shit. Fine. But because you're talking shit, just know that puts a target on your back and people are waiting for you to fuck up so that they can take your spot. So if you know this and if you have that in your mind and keep that in your mind, you have to be cognizant of the fact that people are waiting to do that. So talk your shit, but you might have to work twice as hard now because people are gunning for you and you have to deal with that. So be cautious of doing this. And also, you don't have to make your bragging public. Jose and I are pretty confident and prideful people. However, if you saw us in the street and the way we treated people, you probably would think we're the most humble people ever. And we are very humble. However, we do know what the fuck we're doing, and we do know what the fuck we've been through, and we do know that most of y'all aren't going to do that shit. So we definitely like to speak on the fact that that is reality. So don't get it twisted. You can brag. You don't have to do it publicly to everybody else and their mom. You could do it to a close circle of friends and still get your little brag session off, you know? But if you do it publicly, know that the people are going to be gunning for you, and you're going to have to put in twice the amount of work.
Talk shit, get hit.
There you go.
Bitch.
And if you talk shit and you get hit, you better not be on the ground acting like you have to get up and face that shit. You know what I'm saying? So when life hits you, don't be a pussy. Get up and fight back. And that's really the story of entrepreneurship.
Do you have any idea how many times Austin and I have just sat there and just stared into space and been like, we're fucked. Like we're fucked.
We did that shit yesterday.
And today.
And today.
Multiple times yesterday and today.
Yes.
Just sat there and you're fucked. And you're like, no matter where we move, fucked. And then you're on the phone with somebody, you get off the phone, bad news, worse news, and horrible news. Yeah. Which one do you want to hear first?
And I like to hear the bad news first. Just tell me the baddest that it can get. Tell me that shit first.
What's funny is nowadays it's not even like good news, bad news. It's like, okay, this is what problem do we have now?
Correct.
What problem do we have now? What's the worst thing now? What's this now? It's not even, you know, I feel like you get to a point in entrepreneurship where you have a good product, you have good distribution, but there's just millions of problems. And you're no longer even thinking about, which is nice. You're not thinking about how to distribute the product. You're not thinking about how to sell it anymore because that's already covered. You're like, Now what the fuck is actually going on with the product? You're like, there's all these problems. The distribution, this component, this factor, this price point, this tax, somebody held it here. Oh, it's stuck here. And you're like, don't get us wrong. We're not complaining at all.
No.
We're just telling you that it's not as fun as you think.
Exactly.
I'm about to post this on Instagram too, that everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Oh, yes.
And that everything is a process of authentication and authorization.
Exactly.
We got into the level where we authorized the components of stress. And so what I'm saying is we went through the authorization that was like, hey, success, failure. It's like that failure is a level above success, in my opinion. Because if you're failing at a higher level than you were succeeding in a lower level, you're winning. Mm-hmm. You're winning because you're still performing at a higher level. So as you're breaking through, after you get the authentication, you have to fight the dragon to get to that next pot of gold and that next pot of gold and that next pot of gold. There's always a bigger, badder, stronger, more aggressive dragon.
Correct.
And in the process of defeating the dragon, you've authenticated yourself. And
if you're facing the same problem that you were facing a week ago, you're not growing. You're not getting better. Or depending
on the time scale of the problem.
Correct. Okay. So if you're facing the same problem that you've been facing for since the beginning and inception of your business, you're not getting better. As we've progressed, we have progressively dealt with more dragons, different dragons. This shit over here, this shit over there. Like we've consistently dealt with those types of different issues. And it's not because you're failing, it's because you're getting better. And once you realize that, and once you realize that, hey, I'm slaying more dragons, or hey, I'm fixing more problems, you begin to go through the shit that most people won't go through. You get to level 145, but most people stop at 45. So since most people stopped at 45 and you went to 145, to me, you can brag all you want. Because these problems that somebody might have stopped at, you said, hey, fuck it, I'm not going to stop at it. And I'm going to figure it out and solve it and then get to the next level. And since you are on a higher level, since you got to the next level, since most people wanted to quit, you can do what you want at that level. You've earned it. And if that means bragging a little bit and showing off a little bit, if that's in your nature and that's your characteristic, by all means, the stage is yours.
And that's why every time we see a sports car blow by, sure, there's a little bit of upsetness.
Right.
But nowadays, it's no longer the same level of, oh, I'm going to get your fucking car. It's more like, congrats, bro.
Respect.
We'll be there soon enough.
Exactly.
Coffee and cars.
Mm-hmm.
The AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
The AM Club Podcast.